Hey, this is Chaz Cascas.
And this is Paul Furio.
And this is Cascade Improv. And today we are talking with a wonderful improviser, a director of renown, an actor, an improviser, an author of his own book, the wonderful Alan Hawkins. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I hope I can live up to that introduction.
Yeah, well, thanks for being on the podcast. I'm glad we were able to slot you on in.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah.
Happy to have you.
I get to geek out about improv with two of my favorite improvisers.
Hey, that's what we get to do about every other week.
Yes,
Just geek out with some of our favorites.
Oh my God. And that's the thing about improv that I really love is that it is something that people get excited to talk to you about. Like, before or after a show, you hang out with your friends and you talk about what you saw or what you did or what you hope to do or the classes you're going to do. Mm-hmm. And there's this excitement to it. And I've always said if I ever lose that, I think I need to stop doing improv.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love those the late night conversations, the bar talk after a show. I think those are truly the most beneficial notes. It's great to talk about the show, and I think there's a lot of different philosophies about when to give notes, how to give notes, why do we give notes, what kind of notes to give. But I think really the most valuable notes I think I've gotten are the ones just talking about why we're on stage and how we felt and getting to connect with my scene partner just in that, and the bar talk kind of atmosphere.
Especially with students, it means a lot to them. And I've always termed it as tribal knowledge. When you go out with your teacher, you get to hear the stories of when they were getting into improv. Or, I was very lucky when I was at Second City. I got to hear Second City, Los Angeles. I got to hear all of my teachers talk about how cool it was to be on stage in Chicago and the different things that they did and the different theaters that they started and stuff like that and what it was like to be in Chicago. Yeah. And it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, there's history here. There's like a lot of deep things, and that's what they did, and now I'm kind of doing something similar.
Yeah. And Randy would often talk about how it was. He said that improv is an oral tradition, which is why we tell all these stories, and why I always got this impression that he was actually pretty resistant to wanting to write his ideas down, and I think it was because he had such sort of an adoration to this idea of it being an oral tradition, that things were passed down, and the things that may have been lost through that sort of translation or transition from one person to the other was sort of outweighed by the things that were gained by the wisdom of, I learned this from my teacher who learned it from their teacher, and through sort of passing it down, it changes and morphs a little bit, but the wisdom I got is the wisdom, or sort of standing on the shoulders of giants.
Well, and I always say that we are a mosaic of the teachers before us.
Yeah.
So, and we as students choose the things. It's like, this red works for me. This fuchsia works for me, and that becomes my mosaic. Yeah. And I can point to things and say, that's Craig Kukowski. That's David Rosowski, or any of the Rosowskis, Kowski names. And that's those colors right there.
Yeah.
Here's Susan Messing over here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we do. Because you don't sit there and become your teacher. Mm-mm. You kind of become you take the things that work for you.
I also heard you can't learn improv from a book.
No, you can't.
Yeah. Talk about the book that you've written. You have one out, and
I have one in process.
Yes.
So my first book is, as Paul said, You Can't Learn Improv from a Book, and there is a story for that title. Let me go back. So I started my teaching journey as I was taking the Second City Conservatory. So I was traveling. I was living in Fresno, California, which is in the center of the state, and driving every week to Los Angeles to take class. And after my first 2 weeks, I was talking to my friend Randy Stump, who is no longer with us, but was my friend and mentor for many, many years, taught me how to be a stage manager and a director and an actor, even though I'd done acting before. But he was like, hey, I'm teaching drama at Clovis East High, and you need money. Why don't you come to my school twice a week and teach my kids what you're learning at Second City? So but at that time I was like, oh, okay, yeah, doop-a-doop-a-doo. That teaching teens is easy. Yeah, I'll do that. And I was playing the worst game of telephone that you can imagine, because I would learn all of these wonderful things at Second City, not put them up on stage yet, and then go teach them to kids. And after the first year, I came back. The summer happened. I was in level 5. I came back in the fall, and I'd see the same kids as I had the year before, and they'd see me waiting outside the door talking to Randy, and they're like, you're the improv guy. I love improv. And I'm like, oh, great. What do you remember from last year? And they're like, comedy. And it was like, oh man, okay. And it kept, as I kept doing classes in that week, it was the same thing. I was like, wow, all of these things that were basic to the first level of Second City, I taught these kids verbatim, and it didn't stick.
Yeah.
And so Randy was like, all of your yes and stuff is great. And he goes, I got shelves and shelves of books, Viola Spolin and Del Close. He goes, but these kids, their lives are chaos because they got 1 foot in being a kid and 1 foot in being an adult, and everyone's trying to rush them to the finish line. So their lives are full of lessons from the time they wake up all through school, and then they get home and their parents are like, oh crap, I never taught you how to cook. Let's learn how to cook. Oh, you don't know how to pump gas. Let's go to the gas station and put gas in. And these kids don't get a break. And so he said, if you really want to make a lasting impression, stop teaching them lessons. You need to give them experiences that they didn't expect. If you can show them that they can do something that they had no idea that they would do, he goes, it'll ring through the rest of their lives. They'll be talking about you in the far future. And so I went home and I was like, how do I do this? How do I teach them something in an hour and a half that has all of the things that I love about improv without any yes and lessons or anything like that? And there's 2 high wire acts in improv. One is musical improv. And what I mean by high wire acts is you can go ask 50%, you can ask 100% of improvisers, hey, let's do a musical improv scene. Half of them will go, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to, no, I don't do a musical improv. Right. The other one is Shakespeare. And so I got to thinking, I can't play piano, but I wonder if I could teach them how to improvise in the style of Shakespeare. And so I started figuring out what games would emulate what I wanted and what exercises I could come up with to. The great thing about Shakespeare is Shakespeare has fully realized characters. It has great relationships, great emotions. People make changes throughout his shows. He provides the book, the roadmap for all modern storytelling. And so I figured all this out, and I literally workshopped it with. By the time I got to my second year, I was actually teaching at 6 different high schools.
Wow! And
I was only making like $100 or $200 a day. Like, it wasn't like I was getting rich, but I was teaching as I was still learning. And I came up with this system, and I started teaching them how to do Shakespeare, but I wouldn't tell them that's what I was doing. I have, and Paul's taken all my workshops. so he can elaborate on how it works, but I would do all of these exercises, and at the very last part of the class, I'd say, "Hey guys, let's improvise in the style of Shakespeare." And you just kind of see them go, "What?" But they already had all the tools. And so once I did one scene and showed them, usually I used a playbook, they just were like, "Oh my God," and they would jump onto it. And the great thing about teens is they need no excuse to be overly dramatic, overly emotional, and just, visceral in what they're doing. That's they go dark fast.
Yeah.
So that's what started. And then I kept refining it. And as I was going to these different high schools, the teachers would hit me up like a week later, and they're like, "Hey, I've already forgotten all those lessons. I want to keep them going with the kids. Could you write out your lessons?" And I was like, I can try to do that. And every time I did, it became this thing like, okay, here's this lesson, but I wanted to tell them what they were looking for.
Yeah.
Because it's teaching improv is not like teaching driving. I'm a shepherd more than I am anything else. Like I'm saying, here's the road you want to go on, and then I just keep them from going off the canyon edge.
Yeah.
And I was trying to put all that in these notes, and after a while, I just couldn't. I never sent any of them, and I realized I'm like, this is a book. This is not notes. I need to actually write a step-by-step book where I can actually say, here's the exercise. Here are the director's notes. Here are the player's notes. And these are why we do these. And it's a book that's not for the high schoolers to read. It's literally focused for drama teachers. And one of the things that Randy told me in that first conversation about teaching lessons was, he goes, "There's one universal truth I know as a drama teacher. You can't learn improv from a book." And so that's where that title comes from. It's from it's literally honoring my friend who put me on this path.
Yeah.
And so I'd been writing it like loosely for 5 years maybe.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and I got my first bout of COVID. And I was stuck in my room for 7 days because this was when it was first going, and I had my wife and my kids in the house. So my wife's like, "You just stay in there." I'm like, "Okay." And I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, well, I got all this time. I wonder if I could just what would the table of contents of my book look like? And I made it in like 15 minutes. And I was like, oh, well, this is my roadmap. And then I just waited until I was inspired by something, and then I'd go write that chapter. And then I just continued on until I had a rough draft. And it sat in that form for another year. And then I got into an unfortunate situation where my mom had passed away, and my brother, who was Down syndrome, I was in her apartment 50 miles away from my house, taking care of my brother while my mom was in the hospital, and I was at my wit's end. Like I was at the lowest I could be. And out of the blue, my friend Jessica Rogers, who wrote the foreword to the book, calls me, and she used to be the artistic director for the Second City's teen program. And I used to direct her in a troupe in Chicago. And she called me, and she's like, "Hey, how's it going?" It just all came out.
Yeah.
And she goes, okay, let's look at this. You're trapped in this apartment. What can you do? What's up with your book? And I'm like, I can't think of a book right now. She goes, bullshit. You're stuck in that apartment and you have no outlet. So sneak home a bottle of wine, sit in front of your computer and finish this book. And every time you finish something, send me the copy and I'll proofread it. And we did that. We did that for the next 13 days. I finished that book. I basically You say F words on this thing?
Yeah.
I basically hate fucked my book into existence.
Yeah.
Literally. And got it done. She went through it. My friend Amy Seeley, who used to be a teacher for the Players Workshop, which is Viola Spolin's school. Yeah. She did a proofread on it. And actually, now that I think of it, I only had my friends who represent as females reading my book. And I think that was probably one of the best things I ever did. Because there were a lot of times when I was trying to be glib and they would type in there, "This isn't needed. We don't need this. We just need you to get to it." And they were hyper focused on getting me to that end point. And then I think it was live on Amazon 2 months later.
Yeah.
Nice.
And my whole goal with the book was if I could sell 50 copies in a year, that would be a success. Because my target audience is very narrow. My target audience is literally drama teachers that don't teach improv but need a practical guide for it. Yeah. And there's no thing of, when I was growing up in Fresno, California or Albuquerque, New Mexico, I did this, none of that. Yeah. It is just a basic guide. Yeah. And I do give in the back, I used to have a thing that I would leave at the high schools called Alan's big book of big improv ideas, and it was 2 pages. And so that's in the back, but the rest of it is just my exercises, and they're actually in the order that I do my Shakespeare workshops. And it also has chapter on how to host, how to put together a short form thing, and I have a little bit of information about how to put together a simple long form. But my hope with it is that a drama teacher can get it, and it's not like Viola Spolin's book, which is brilliant, and she gave us so many gifts, but it is a tome. Like it takes a while to get through it. My coffee table is even because of it. But sitting down and reading it is a bit of work, and then. Sharna's book about Dell is a great book, but it's not great for high schools. And you've done high school drama. You understand. Like Dell's book is not for kids. So it's and there are other books out there that are for teaching teens. But mine is really from the standpoint, whenever I teach a workshop, no matter who it is, I treat my students as if they were professional improvisers in Chicago. Like my goal with taking a class from me is that you would be able to walk into a class at Second City and it makes sense. It's totally familiar with you. And so I treat my high school kids like that. I teach my adult students like that. And that's what I wanted my book to put on. Yeah. So
that's great. Yeah. So you have been sort of workshopping this and not workshopping this, but you have been taking this around to other like theater teachers. I know you've been working at theaters around at high schools around the area and sort of dropping the book off, and you've been doing things with the Washington State Thespians.
Yeah, you and I just did that.
Yeah, we did.
That was great. That was 2 days of 4 workshops a day with teens from all over the state. Yeah. And it's, when you're in high school, you walk into a drama class of any level. If you got 16 kids in there, you got 4 that are hyper focused. This is what they want to be there for. Yeah. And the others are just like, let's just get through this. Come on, Baldylocks. Just teach me how to make the ha-ha yuckle-yuckles and let's get out of here. Whereas the Washington Thespian was all of those hyper-focused kids.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah. It really boiled down the BS, and you just really got into the kids that they were so happy to be there. And they were jazzed to work with all of the instructors. And there were voiceover instructors there were technical theater instructors there, musical instructors, musical improv instructors. You and I were there. And I was blown away by that opportunity. If I'd had that opportunity when I was a young actor in middle school or high school, oh my God.
I went through that program.
Did you?
My high school was part of the thespians. We had a thespian troupe, and it was so rewarding. And I went to that same festival, got to work with theater professionals who came on in and, taught Meisner and taught mime. And I remember, I don't remember if it was thespians or if it was ACTF, but in college, but I remember taking a how to do your taxes as an actor.
Yep.
And I still use so many of those skills that I learned from those teachers who truly at this point in time I could not remember who they are, but I remember their teachings. Yeah. And it's so valuable. And so to be able to give back and as you mentioned, as a theater teacher, I feel like I'm already giving back in a way to, from where I learned so much of my theatrical practices. But then being able to work this year at Thespians as an instructor for the first time. I've been on the board and, different things.
Educator.
Yeah, been an educator and I've, helped a bunch of different things with Thespians and brought students to internationals and such. But this was my first year as a teaching instructor, and that there was something that just felt very full circle and really important to me about that.
I think our next goal should be to go to international and teach.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that, but I want to do that.
I can figure it out.
Yeah.
I got all the connections.
You do it.
I got all the
I'm with you. We'll make a team out of it.
Yeah.
It was so rewarding. And my own kid, who was a freshman at Fred Olway High, they got to do it.
Yeah.
And they were really on the fence about it. They're like, I don't know if I want to do it, and then when they got there, boom, you could just tell. And you had my kid in one of your workshops, and she could not stop raving about how good of an improv teacher you were and how fun it was. And I'm like, yeah, you can shut up now. You're not going to take my workshop. Every time she saw me, I could literally see her, and I could see her face. She'd make like an eep sound and make a U-turn. Because we don't want our dad teaching improv at the theater festival that all of our friends are going to.
I hope you know that I did mention your class in every one of the workshops.
Same. Yep.
And would just make little things like if you're, now that you've learned this skill, if you want to take this can be applied when you go and take Alan Hawkins' workshop, etc. But when your kid was in the workshop, their face lit up when I said that.
Oh, really?
And that was a really sweet moment right there.
That's awesome. Because I got to tell you, I love I have a wife and 2 daughters, and I'm always learning from them. There's so many things I've learned that I apply in my teaching now that I learned from all of them. But what I've learned most is that they think I'm not funny. And they are so loud about it. It is amazing. Like my wife has a PowerPoint of all the reasons I'm not funny. So I love hearing that. Thank you so much. Because sometimes it's just kind of like, oh, this is a tough crowd. I don't know if I can go into this room again. And the room is my living room. It's just like,
it's the kitchen.
Why do I have to be the opener? I don't want to do that. I really need this $50 though. I need the gas. So yeah, I love that. That was a great. And then in July, I'm doing the Tennessee Arts Academy Festival, and it is a festival that is only for high school arts teachers, so dance, art, music, and theater. Cool. And for an entire week, I am going to teach theater teachers my Shakespeare workshop. And it's going to be, I have 3 levels of Shakespeare. The first level is basically introduction to doing it, and you can just do the first level and you're off to the races.
Yeah.
But the second level is how you use short form games to amplify what you're doing with Shakespeare. And then the last one is how do you make an improvised play. And I'm actually going to pound all of that into 1 week.
Wow. Okay.
So, and I think they said that like there's a ton of interest already for it.
Cool.
So,
great.
yeah. So I'm excited about that too.
Yeah.
I was dismayed that the classes, the Shakespeare classes that you teach here in Seattle are just 1 day each. It feels like it's enough at every level. It's enough content that it should be like, Cynthia's acting for improviser class is like 4 classes. And that feels like your class is worth 4 classes of stuff. Plus the reps of coming back and doing it over and not just like, here's a day, okay, you've learned Shakespeare, good. I think there's value.
Well, and you've been there. You can, like, once I get rolling, this is a 4-hour workshop. That is the max that I would ever want to do for a workshop. But we take 30 minutes for lunch in the middle.
Yeah.
But even with 4 hours, I'll start looking at my watch and I'm like, dang, I'm running out of time, and I got like 8 more things I want to show them.
Yeah.
So and you've actually taken. You took 1 through 3, and then you took 1 again, didn't you?
Yeah, because Marie wanted to take 1.
Oh, that's right.
I'll take it again, sure.
Yeah. So you've seen me, and it's just like I get so excited about what we're doing, and other people's excitement then fuels me. Where I actually had one class where I'm explaining what we're going to do next, and there's two students up front, and they're my age or close to it, and they're just like all a titter, and I'm like, you guys need to go to the bathroom or something? And one of them looks at me and goes, no, I'm all tingly right now. I was like, oh. I don't know how to handle that, but I think that's a compliment. They're like, oh yeah, this is great. Don't stop. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Good.
So I could probably do it for 7 days a week and still be happy.
I think there's also a value to, I think this is one of the negatives of just one-off classes anywhere, is you really need to sleep on stuff to absorb stuff.
Yeah.
For things to get into your subconscious, like it has to be minimum of 2 days with like a night of rest in between.
Yep.
Because when your mind is organizing all the things it's learned for the day, like you come the next day. That's just how neurology works. You come the next day reframing everything that you've learned, and you're going to be better at it just because of that. So I think, I think if you could convince whoever makes those decisions, whether it's Tony or Jay or Kent or Bill, that there should be at least 2 days of classes. I think there's value there.
Well, and if you're in the Seattle area, one of the things they're doing right now is they've opened their East Side Issaquah school, and instead of me doing 4-hour workshops, they're having me do 4-week classes.
Perfect.
Good.
Perfect.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
So the last one was a combination of my Shakespeare workshop. We did the Shakespeare workshop in the first 2 classes, and then I showed them how to apply those same muscles that you build to other styles. So we did Beckett, we did Arthur Miller, we did Tennessee Williams, we did Oscar Wilde, and it's once. And you and I, have we done Oscar Wilde or not?
We talked about. We did an Oscar Wilde scene in class, and then we talked about. What was it? The disappointing husband.
No. Oh, dang it.
Yeah.
The Ideal Husband. That's what I wanted to call it.
Yes.
I think
The ideal or the disappointing husband.
Yeah, that would be appropriate too.
Yeah.
But
it was some adjective husbands. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
But the class in Issaquah was great because
It's like a Rorschach test.
Yes.
I may be projecting myself onto this slightly.
But the fun thing is I use this for styles. I use the Second City method of doing styles, and with Second City, you can read all of the scripts, and they'll not stop you from that, and then I won't either. I'll always encourage people to be better humans. Yes, read as much Shakespeare as you can, but what they look at instead is what was the time period, what was the political atmosphere, what did the everyday man want, what were their hopes and dreams. And then you get into a little bit of like the concept of the writer. So if I describe Tennessee Williams, of course everyone goes to hot. It's always hot when they mention Tennessee Williams.
But I need a mint julep and it's hot. Yep.
Sultry.
But it gets a little bit deeper because you've got your handsome stranger who's come to upset the balance. You've got the patriarch or matriarch that has iron control over the family. You've got the rebel that wants to break free. And these things are the stressors of the style.
Yeah.
And how do you play up to those stressors? And that's where the style really comes from, because anybody can put on a slow Southern accent and just talk like this. But if your character doesn't have an engine to drive it, if you don't know that, another thing is that everyone is sexually repressed and they are horny as hell, and those are the type of engines that drive a style. You don't have to talk about those things, but if you're internalizing them, then they can slowly kind of seep out in your character. So that's the Issaquah class that we just finished. And then I'm doing another one starting next week, that is one of my favorite workshops, where we take short form games and apply them as long form skills. So that's
bridging that gap between short form and long form. It's a tall order, and the way that we have decided to separate short form and long form, the way that we've decided that short form is just fun games and long form is for serious improvisers.
Yes,
I could just gag. I'm so done with it. I'm so done with it. Because the skills that you learn in short form only serve you in long form.
Yeah.
And the skills that you learn in long form teach you how to be a grounded improviser in short form.
Yeah, they do. They go back and forth. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And with games, that's the gift that Viola gave us. Is every time I do theater sports or any short form thing, the first thing I look at is, okay, what is this game teaching me?
Yeah.
Freeze tag is an object work and movement game. It's teaching me that I can create a lot of magic by having an object or doing a movement. And freeze tag only becomes stale when people don't move.
Yep.
So there's that lesson that you can apply to your scene work in improv. Don't be a stick on stage, or entrances and exits. That's a great game because it gives me it shows that it's okay to leave a scene. And if you've ever seen entrances and exits, there's usually always a point where everyone is left and there's just one person on stage.
Yeah.
And to me, that's that person. That person hasn't been left in a danger position. They have been left in a position to tell the audience, like an Oscar-winning moment, what they are all about.
Yeah.
And then that informs us off stage that are waiting to come back in.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we can add gas to their fire. So it's these little lessons in games, or I like to play emotional stage. I think you guys sometimes call it quadrants. I've always tell my students, if you feel stale in a scene, roll out the emotional stage and start walking back and forth and see what happens when you go from happy to angry. How does that affect your partner? Because if you feel that things have gotten stale, like that's where we need to go, because it's the relationship that really drives the scene.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I continually use in my improv teaching is what are these things that a short form game asks of you? And like Spolin and like Johnstone, I love Johnstone's idea of tricking you into good habits.
Yes, that's exactly what it does. Yes.
And figuring out what are these games. And like last night I was teaching a class and one of my students, she goes, I always come in with an idea and I just get so nervous and I want to have, I'm halfway through and I realize, oh God, I'm like forcing this person. And I go, great, for the next scene that you're doing, you're going to play first letter, last letter. Yeah. I go, when you sit back down in that chair, the first thing you're going to write down is my next scene is going to be first letter, last letter. And, we talked about, I was like, you know the game? She's like, yeah, I know the game. I was like, great. Okay. I go, so after you've played that, you're going to play that for the next 5 scenes. And I don't care if your other scene partner isn't playing it with you. You play that with them. They can do whatever the heck they want, but you're going to play first letter, last letter. Hopefully that'll cure.
Yeah. And I do something similar when I see somebody that's playwriting or they're writing a scene, and so they're putting in like history that happened off stage and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, stop. I want you for the rest of this scene, every other line, I want you to make a statement about how either you're feeling about yourself or how you feel about your scene partner.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because we gossip so much. We send the energy off stage.
Yeah.
And if we're going to talk about what's off stage, let's go see that scene. Why are we watching this scene? If you're so fascinated by what's happening off stage, then can we just pan the camera?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, everything off stage is just a metaphor. What's on stage. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also, so that comes from a place of fear where they're worried about what they're saying and what they're doing rather than just checking out what their scene partner is giving them. Because that's all we need. Everything you need is in your scene partner's face.
Yeah.
The rest of it, the rest of it is fine. Do the spaghetti. The suggestion is spaghetti. Be an Italian chef. But after that, realize that everything that we need is in your scene partner. The rest of it is just spaghetti.
Yeah.
And that's something that I used to study with. I studied 2 years with Dave Rosowski, and every week for 2 years. And if you don't know Dave Rosowski, he is a very famous Second City alumni. He was a director at Second City. He was on stage with Colbert and Steve Carell, so that was his class. And then he was the artistic director for Second City Los Angeles when I was doing the conservatory. And when you graduate, you could get invited by special invitation only to be part of one of his grad groups. And he invited me. And the reason I moved to LA eventually, and the reason I did Second City was Dave Rosowski and another teacher of mine, Amy Seeley. And so I was ecstatic. But the classes were Tuesday afternoons at noon. And I had a job.
Yeah.
And I went to my boss and I'm like, hey, I want to do these classes on Tuesdays. I'll come in 2 hours early and I'll stay an hour later if you'll just let me go slip down to Melrose and do this. And he goes, let me think about it. And at the end of the day, he goes, yeah, I can't let you do that. So I went to, at the time, Second City was attached to the Hollywood Improv. So there was a black box theater that we used. And then upstairs was classes. And then you could go to the bathroom, hang a left, and you would find yourself in the Hollywood Improv bar.
Yeah. Okay.
And you would be hanging with like Sarah Silverman. I saw Robin Williams there a couple of times. You're just with all these comics that are just standing there, and we're just improvisers drinking. And so that night, I went and saw Dave's Wednesday show. And he goes, I'm going to see you next week, right? I'm like, I can't. My boss won't let me do it. And he goes, quit your job. And I'm like, what? He goes, quit your job. Did you come here to sell wheels or did you come here to do improv? Quit your job. And he walked away. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't quit my job. Because funny thing, you can't live in Los Angeles without a job.
Yeah.
It's just as impossible as Seattle. And every time he passed by, he would look at me and go, quit your job. And he'd walk off. Quit your job. Walk off. And so that next morning I woke up and I said, screw it. And I called my boss and said, I quit. I'm going to go do those classes.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, good luck to you. And then I showed up that next week, and Dave's like, you're here. And I'm like, yeah, I did what you said. I quit my job. And you could just see his face drop. And he goes, oh, okay. we'll give you an internship so you don't have to pay for classes or something. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's good. But
he was 3 drinks in,
oh
just
my God.
joking.
Yes, he had totally forgotten by maybe that night that he had done that to me. But it changed my life. There was no regrets in that, because that was the beginning of, I graduated the conservatory. You get this nice certificate from Second City that says, congratulations, you've graduated the Second City Conservatory. You are now a master of improv.
Oh.
Such bullshit. I still remember.
We still love you, Dave.
Yes. I love Dave. Dave changed my life, and Dave made me a better parent. He made me a better husband and a better improviser. But we would have classes every Tuesday, and it was just in this dark theater. And he was developing this system. He wanted the very first class. He goes, we're going to drop everything. No yes and, none of the rules, nothing. We're going to start with a blank stage, just you and your partner. And I thought to myself, I just spent $3,000 in a year of my life learning all the rules. What do you mean we're going to get rid of the rules? But that's what we did. And what he did is he married Meisner technique and viewpoints and made it a improv style. Yeah. So with Meisner, and it's all about tension. And I say tension and people go, oh, that's a bad thing. But it's not. Tension is the energy of the space between me and Paul and me and Chaz. That's the tension. If I moved closer to Paul and started doing this podcast sitting next to him, that's a different type of tension, and that's part of the viewpoints part. And then Meisner is, the last thing that's said. How does that affect you?
Yeah.
Speak to only that. If you say a line and you don't know why, say it again, and then say it again, and say it 3 different ways until it makes sense. And that became the Rosowski method. And me and about 28 of my friends were all of his guinea pigs. And he got rid of all of the yes and he's got a book, if anybody's interested, that's called a Subversive's Guide to Improvisation, Moving Past Yes and. And the first half of it is his biography. Oh my God. But he's had an interesting life, and I chalk that up to the tribal knowledge, because they're all stories that I heard at the bar.
Yeah.
So there's your bar thing. I feel like it should have been in the back.
Sure.
And then the rest of it is really that method that he put together using us. And that's what I did in Los Angeles for 2 years. I did that every week until they fired him. They went in a total different direction, and one day they just fired him.
Wow.
And that's when I had already started at IO at that point. So I was doing, there was a time in Los Angeles when I was much younger. I was doing Dave's classes on Tuesday. I was doing IO classes on Sundays. I was doing a Tuesday night musical improv show, and then the Wednesday night grad shows. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I would have my own independent group. So I was doing almost 7 days a week of improv.
Yeah, wow.
But I was so much younger, and I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have somebody to say, hey, this is really expensive, and I think you kind of got the gist by now.
Yeah.
And I did that 7 years.
Wow.
I did Los Angeles first, and I did Second City and IO. I was going to do UCB because UCB lets IO grads start at level 3.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're only a 5 level thing. So it was like you could get your UCB credit and say that you studied there just by doing 16 weeks of classes because UCB came out of IO. Yeah. So their first 3 levels are basically exactly what IO does, and they don't hide it at all. But my wife, well, my girlfriend at the time, we had just gotten engaged. She goes, "Hey, there's a job in Chicago that I'd like to do, and now that we're engaged, I want to see if you would move to Chicago with me." And I was like, "Huh? I think they have improv there. Yeah, sure. Let's move to Chicago. But it was never planned.
Yeah.
You know, I was happy in LA. I had tons of shows. I had all these, there was this great community in LA, because the funny thing about LA is there's nowhere to go. You're never going to get on SNL in LA. You're never going to get on the Second City main stage in Chicago, and there's not a main stage in LA. So what you get is a lot of actors who take improv classes, do the conservatory, and then do shows. But there's no end game, so they just do it for the love of it. And we would. I remember being in IO, we would challenge people to. We just make up a form on the spot, and you know, hey, I want you to do a form. Every scene has to end with a hit in the face.
Yeah.
And you're thinking to yourself, oh, that's clever. And then you see professionals get up there, and like the first scene, it's a father and a son. And at the end of the scene, the dad goes, I'm proud of you, son. And he gives a little right on the chin, you know? And then the next one, it's you know, the mom grabbing the son's face, you know, pap, and then giving a kiss on the forehead.
Yeah.
And it's like that how do you take a form and just put it on stage and make it something wonderful and real?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of environment that was happening in LA. And then I went to Chicago, and my friend Amy Seeley gave me great advice that I did not listen to. She said, tear up your resume. Don't go there and be a graduate of the IO and a graduate of the Second City. They will not know what to do with you. Go take classes somewhere and retake the IO program and let them discover you. And then you're going to go far.
Yeah.
And I got to Chicago, and I'm like, but I worked so hard on all this.
Yeah.
I can't just throw it away. Like, I'm proud of this.
Yeah.
And that's
well, and you've done all the work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how exhausting to just... Yeah.
So, but she was exactly right. And my first year in Chicago, I auditioned for everything. And I always ask for feedback after an audition. And if you audition, you should ask for feedback. There is, you are not going to insult any director. You are actually going to me as a director, it looks like you care and you want to improve. And I try, if I ever do give notes for an audition that I'm running, it's like, what notes can I give this person that will make them better at auditioning?
Yeah.
So you should always do that. And I would ask for, you know, at IO, I had a great Herald audition, and I was on a Herald team at IO West, and I didn't get cast, and I sent an email to the Herald committee, and a very nice gentleman, Craig Euler, wrote me an email back. He's like, yeah, we really liked your audition, and we saw your resume, but we just don't really know what they're doing over there. So we didn't really know what to do with you. And that's kind of what I had the same thing at Comedy Sports. Nobody at Second City gave me feedback when I auditioned for the tour company, because they don't have to. But the two big ones that I had, they kind of like, yeah, well, you know, Los Angeles is kind of jokey. I'm like, no, we're not. Like, you have real actors that are trained, and like, so the people that people think is Los Angeles, there are people that just came to Los Angeles, I'm going to be an actor, and then they just do. Well, those people don't take improv classes.
Yeah.
Actors take improv classes.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had people, and what's awesome is a lot of my classmates in my graduating class, they're now on Netflix and ABC and stuff like that. And then there's me. But, you know, they're real actors. And so we're not jokey, but I was getting that in Chicago, and it almost took 2 years before I started getting regular performances again.
Wow.
In Chicago. Making that transition was really different. What was the original point? I just had so much fun talking about it.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. I mean, one of the questions I did want to ask is, how did you find improv, and sort of what's your story and growth in improv? And like, I feel like we're getting part of that, but yeah, where did you start in your improv?
Well, and you guys have never heard this on your podcast before, but I was going through a breakup. we were living in Fresno. My fiance, we had been together for 6 years, and she was a college student taking theater at Fresno State. And if you don't know about Fresno, there is nothing to do except theater and steal cars. Those are really your two choices.
Yeah.
It gets to be 117 degrees in the middle of summer, and that lasts until October. And at night, it cools down to a really cool 99 degrees. So there's nothing you can really do outside in the middle of summer, but you can do theater, and that's what a lot of us did. And so she was doing theater at Fresno State, and I was doing local theater, being a stage manager and a director. And then she got close to graduating, and she had a panic attack. And she's like, "You're the only boyfriend I've had. You're my first kiss. You're my first everything. What am I doing with my life?"
Yeah.
And there was nothing I could do. That they were all very valid things. And it was just like, okay, well, you got to do that.
Yeah.
And we broke up, but we still had to live together for like another 3 or 4 months because she didn't have a car. She didn't have a place. She didn't have a job. I had supported her through college, which was fine. I had no problem with that. So we're living together, and it was miserable. It was so miserable. And one day she comes home, and she's like, "Hey, I'm going to change real quick, but the improv team at Fresno State is having an open rehearsal. Do you want to come do some improv? It might cheer you up." And to that point, I had only done improv in high school. There wasn't really an outlet for improv, and I didn't really see myself as an improv person. I was an actor, you know, and I was that guy that was like, improv. But at that point, I was so down, and I really needed something affirming. I was like, yeah. And the Fresno State improv team was an expansion. It was a comedy sports style expansion team off of the Modesto Comedy Sports, which was an expansion off of the San Jose Comedy Sports. San Jose Comedy Sports paid for their franchise. Modesto and Fresno kind of piggybacked as expansion teams, and they didn't have to pay the fee. And I'd seen one of their shows, and I'd never seen Comedy Sports before, and it was magical. You know, think about going to theater sports for the first time, not knowing what you're walking into, and just going, "Oh my God." And that's what happened. So we go to this open rehearsal, and I'm in my 30s at this point, and all of the students there and my girlfriend were in their mid-20s.
Yeah.
And I'm the old dude, and I'm just like, "Oh, is this going to work?" And we played games, for 4 hours.
Wow.
And I'd never played improv games. But all of my improv experience in high school, we only did scenes. As a matter of fact, we did scenes, and my drama teacher on a big blackboard, if you did a scene that was like a tire changing scene, she would put up "no more tire changing." Or if you did a scene where you were shopkeepers or somebody teaching, she would put that up on the board. So by the time we got halfway through the year, like, we were having to get really creative.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of improv I did. And then we played games with the comedy sports team, and I just had such a blast. And I walked out of there just jazzed. And the two guys who ran it, Brent Tubbs and Carlos Santos, ran up to me, and they're like, "Do you want to be in our improv team?" Like, I never thought that would happen. I was just like, did my girlfriend put you up to that? And they're like, "No, you were amazing. We want you in the team." And so I was in the team. And this was in the spring, because she was getting ready to graduate. So it's almost the end of the year. I got to do one comedy sports show with them. I did a bunch of rehearsals, and then the school year ended. And something happened that changed all of our lives. There was a thing called Cal Arts that happens at Fresno State. It ended with the pandemic, but they would bring in like teachers from ACT, and the college students would sign up for it, and they would have 2 weeks of working with professional actors from ACT, or they would bring in Steppenwolf. And you would get to work with Steppenwolf for 2 weeks, like 8 hours a day. But what happened that summer was Dave Rosowski, Amy Seeley, and Ron West brought Second City to Fresno State.
Wow.
And the entire improv team signed up. I had a 40-hour-a-week job, so I couldn't sign up. And like I said, I was supporting my ex and myself at that time. I think by that time she'd actually moved out, but I was still like, I wasn't rich. So I would, every day I'd leave work and I'd go straight to Fresno State and I'd grab Brent by the collar and like, what'd you learn, you little nerd, you know?
Yeah.
And I would hang out with them afterwards and everything. And then their showcase happened and they did a full Second City type review, which was amazing. And then they had a jam afterwards, just an open jam. And I played in the open jam. And then Second City left and everybody in the improv team moved to LA. They all auditioned for the Second City Conservatory, and they all got in.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I guess that's the end of improv for me, you know. But they kept inviting me to come to LA to see their student shows and to do the Second City Jam. And the Second City Jam was run by Amy Seeley, which if you look up, I think it's amyseeleycomedy.com, or just search Amy Seeley, Seeley. She's an amazing teacher. And she does virtual stuff, but she ran the jam, and the jam was short form games, and anybody could walk in. And I went I started going every single week, and you didn't know if you were going to be doing a scene with a homeless person or a pro or anywhere in between. But the whole thing about the jam was, if I make you look good and you make me look good, we're both going to look good. That was the main rule of the jam. And so I did it. I did that for like 3 or 4 weeks. And Amy comes up and she's like, hey, pal, why didn't you audition for the conservatory? And I told her, I got a job and this, that, and the other. And I only got to do 1 or 2 shows. And she's like, but you're an actor, right? And I'm like, yeah, I've been acting since I was like 12 or 13. She goes, why don't you just sign up? We have auditions in a couple of weeks. I'm like, well, I looked at it and I don't qualify. You have to take like a year's worth of improv classes to audition. She goes, call. And every time they start talking about you having to have that experience, you talk about what you do in theater. And just browbeat them until they finally give you a spot. And that's not who I am. I don't do that. But I did. I did exactly what she said. And literally at the end of the phone call, I could hear the girl that was just an office worker just go, your slot is 11:30 a.m. on Sunday. Click. And then I got there, I did the audition, and I got in with a class. They had moved. Second City has A through E, which is their beginning program. It's a year-long program. They had done that, and then they did the Improv for Actors program, which is 3 levels. They did that together, and they stayed together as a group. And then they had put me in with them for the audition, and we just had a blast. And then afterwards, we went across the street. We drank margaritas. They had me sign up for Friendster, which is the precursor to MySpace. So I finished the audition, hung out with them, signed up for Friendster, and I went home to Fresno and went back to my job. And then I didn't hear anything until the day before Thanksgiving. The mailman dropped off the mail and had a slot in the door, and I hear shink ting. And I'm like, oh, let's look. And there's a letter from Second City. And I open it up, and the first thing it says is, congratulations, you have been accepted into the Second City Conservatory. Your first class will be on Sunday. This will be your teacher. You have to show up to all the classes. There's only 30 spots that are available. They had 3 classes. They had 300 people audition the weekend that I auditioned for 30 slots. Most times you have to audition 2 or 3 times to get into the conservatory. But I had been with this great cast, these group of people. And then the bottom half of the letter solidified my relationship with Second City for the rest of my life. It was like, it said, please send your check to this address for this amount. If we don't get your money, you will not be able to take classes. And that solidified my relationship with them for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because these theaters, no matter how much they love you, they are businesses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
So yeah, that was really the beginning of my professional improv career. Wow. And I had never taken an improv class until my first Second City class, and I was sweating bullets because I was just like, these guys did 1.5 years, and they're amazing, and I've done 3 shows, and I was just like, I don't know if you're going to be able to do this. And I had Tom Booker, who is one of the founding members of the Annoyance Theater from Chicago, and everything that he taught was love. Everything. One of my favorite quotes from him is, "Scenes are like songs; they're about a thing, and that thing is usually love." And I carry that, and I tell that quote all the time.
Yeah.
And he has workshops that he gives. He's in Austin now with Asif, that are, find the love in your scene, those kind of things. Because he really is that teacher. He's like, love is what really drives our scene. Even if you're having an argument, you can still love each other.
Yeah.
The other thing that I like from him is they say there's no strangers in improv. And his take on that is, well, how do you make friends? You meet somebody and you have a good feeling about them. We make friends by just suddenly meeting somebody, and there's that chemistry of like, I think I want to go have blueberry crepes at IHOP with this person, because that's what happens. That's how we made friends.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got into improv, and that was my first class.
Wow.
And now you are a member at Unexpected Productions, but you're also part of Brothers Falstaff with Shaz and with Tristan Morris.
Yes.
Part of. Founder. He's our director, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, tell me about that troupe. We talked before about long form and how difficult that is I know it's scary for a lot of new improvisers. Tell me about, how you came up with what Brothers Falstaff is, what it does, what you think about when you put on shows.
That's awesome. Well, Brothers Falstaff started from the duos, which Unexpected Productions has a 2-person jam where you can sign up and do a scene or a game. And Tristan Morris and I had met. He was bringing sound equipment into the theater, and I was hanging out because I'd gotten there too early. And I didn't know him. I hadn't met him yet. And we started talking, and it's that same thing. We had a chemistry. I really liked talking to him. And he goes, hey, we should do a duos. And the worst kept secret in Seattle is that I will do a duos with anyone. If you ask me, I'm busy, but I will try to make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's a throwback to the jam. But we finally got to the night of it, and I had done Shakespeare before in the duos with someone, and I forget who it was. I think it might have been Cynthia. And Tristan goes, how do you do improvised Shakespeare? And I was like, okay. And so about 20 minutes before the show, we did just 3 of my exercises. One of them is a 3-line scene exercise where you do a simple, very short statement 3-line scene. And then you do it again, but you add more words without adding any new information. And then you do it one more time, and you add as many words as you can without adding a speck of new information. So it's like it expands and becomes more verbose. And then the second exercise is we want to keep that same level of verboseness, but you have to steal a part of your scene partner's line to make yours.
Yeah.
Which is a very Shakespearean thing, thou art a vile villain. A vile villain, me? No, I am pure of heart. It's that steal, that thing. And so we did that, and then we talked about emotions, and we did a short poetry slam. And then we went up on stage, and there are times when you're doing a scene And you just don't really think about it. It just happens, you know, and people come up to you later and like, oh, that was amazing. And it's like, great. I don't even remember it. But Tristan and I got up there and the stage was on fire. It was just one of those nights where everything clicked and we smacked down that scene, and it was fun and it was inspired, and we just played. And afterwards, like, we come off stage and he's laughing because he just had so much fun. And I'm just like, man, that was awesome. And the next day I hit him up. Now, keep in mind, this guy really didn't know me that well.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen me, I mean, I look like I should live under a bridge and rush out and demand that people solve my riddles. So I'm sure he was just kind of like, why is this guy contacting me? But I was just like, man, I want to do more of that. Like, let's do more Shakespeare. And I'd come up with the name Brothers Falstaff before I hit him up. And I'm doing this over Messenger. And the last thing is, and we'll call ourselves the Brothers Falstaff. And then I didn't hear from him for like 3 hours because he was working or something. Yeah. And he hit me out. He's like, let's do it. Yeah. And so we did now at that point, he hadn't even done a long form yet. So we do a couple more duos, and then we got a 20-minute slot at Jules May, and we did a 2-person improvised Shakespeare play, and it was so much work. Yeah, it was a lot of work, and we did about 3 or 4 Brothers Falstaffs with just the 2 of us. And then I was like, hey, I wonder if Chaz would want to play with us. And so, and you can tell that side of it. I was just like, hey, Chaz, do you want to be in the Brothers Falstaff?
Yeah, it was a show with Second Story Rep.
Yeah. Once Told Tales.
Once Told Tales. Yeah, they would do shows
over in Redmond.
Yeah, out in Redmond, and they would book like basically 2 openers, and then they would do a show. And so they brought us out to. Or they brought the 2 of you out, and you were like, "Hey, we're looking for a 3rd to join our little. We're looking for a menage a trois."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Yeah. I can hop on in." And little did I know it was my audition.
Yeah, no, it was really. I think we went to the bar afterwards. Because it was one of those things where the chemistry was just right. Yeah, the show was banging. Josh Burchart.
Oh yeah,
was in
Josh
the audience.
Burchart, yeah,
and he still talks about that. He goes, "I laughed so hard that my ribs hurt."
Good.
Yeah, and that was our first trio. That was the first true formation of what I consider the final. And now with Paul's group, Barred to the Bone. We have kind of, that's our farm team now.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's curious, your story of the first time you did it with Tristan was unpracticed, unrehearsed at Jules May, and the first time Barred to the Bone happened was also unpracticed. The 3 of us, Catherine, Katie, and myself, had never ever played together, and we're doing this thing that we start off the top of the show saying like, "Oh yeah, Shakespeare's really hard. Shakespeare's terrifying." It's like, well,
it's a high wire act.
Yeah, well, I don't understand why. Yeah, because clearly there's all these success stories of people just getting together for the first time on a new stage and like doing it and doing it well. But yeah, like just that's amusing. That that there's apparently if you want to build up a Shakespeare troupe, you start at Jules May.
Yeah, and then
with strangers.
Yeah, and then you guys, I was teaching Federal Way High School's drama department, and they wanted to do an improv show, so I helped them put on an improv show, and the teacher said, "Oh yeah, we have an hour and a half in the space," and I was like, "Oh, I've taught the kids 9 games."
Yeah,
yeah, and then I was like, "Oh wait, my friends have done this new improv troupe that's Shakespeare based. Why don't we have them come?" And you guys blew those students away.
Yeah, thank you.
Like, I watched my students, and they had never, beside from the little Shakespeare stuff that we did in class, they'd never seen somebody do an improvised Shakespeare play. And they just had smiles on their face the whole time.
Yeah.
And I got to you were nice enough to let me sit in.
We loved having you there. It was so fun. It was so fun.
But the thing is, like, all of my Shakespeare is, I'm always going from the dramatic. Like, I'm not looking to do a comedy. I'm really looking to do the most beautiful things that I can do on stage. That's actually that's something that I push in the workshops. It's like we have, there's a sidebar. We have in a scene, 3-4 minutes maybe? In that time, if you're a gracious improviser, that means you're probably talking for maybe a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you take that minute and a half to say the most beautiful things that you've ever said in your life?
Yeah.
Why would you let it go by with just talking about spaghetti?
Right.
You know? So when we did that show, we went for the drama. There was an old king who was dying. There was we had the unmarried maiden. We had a duke, and the suggestion was shoes, socks.
It was socks. Because I was a scheming sock salesman who was coming to town, hoping to marry the princess of the dying king and claim the throne for myself.
Yep. Princess Adidas.
Yes.
And then we had Nike.
Yep. And then in the end, I got strangled on my own stockings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the audience laughs.
Cross-gartered stockings.
I love it. Oh, poor Malvolio. Much misaligned fool. The audience laughs when you're... Well, you've played the thing where you have to be overly dramatic. And if the audience laughs, you switch out.
Yeah.
I forget what that game's called. But the thing is, the audience loves it.
Yeah.
They just love when you're being dramatic, and as the game goes on, they start laughing. I found that I can actually, in the middle of that game, just sit down and look at my scene partner, and somebody's going to laugh.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, fine, I'm done.
Yeah,
you know,
right,
but you've built up that trust. You know, you've invited them into that world, and they have fun, so they can't help it. And that's how our Shakespeare is. That's how you guys. You know, we're not looking for comedy. We're looking for, you know, drama and tragedy, and it just ends up having comedy.
Yeah.
There's 3 things I remember from that show. One is you introduced us as, here's some professional improvisers from Seattle. And Katie and Kathy and I all looked at each other and were like, oh, he's talking about us. Huh, cool. And then 2, I felt we were doing pretty good. But when you came out on stage, I just kept looking over and being like, that's how it's done. Look over there. That's how it's done.
No, you guys had such presence. And the thing is... and it goes back to how I teach my students. I treat you like you're professional improvisers.
Yeah.
And when I said that, I wasn't blowing sunshine up your tuchus.
Yeah.
It was to that audience and those kids, that's what you are.
Yeah.
You are professional improvisers.
Yep.
They dream of being at the level that you're at. And I think it's important to feel like you have accomplished that moment.
Yeah.
One of my favorite improvised musical teachers told me, he said, your progress through life is a series of hills that steadily climb. And the lowest point that you're at right now is still, I'm making lots of finger pointing as you're listening to this. The lowest point that you're at now is so much higher than your lowest point when you started.
Yeah.
And you have to always remember that. You know,
Yeah.
you're always getting better even when you think you're not.
Yeah.
So that's the Brothers Falstaff, and I love doing that
It's
show.
always such a fun show to watch. Like when the 3 of you get up on stage, it's like, this is going to be a joy. Whatever it is, it's going to be a joy.
Well, and the other thing is, like, I love that when Chaz and Tristan and I really get on fire, we stop worrying about Shakespeare and we start figuring out how we can make each other laugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the audience feels that. Like, we're having fun with each other.
I think it's so important for improvisers to play with each other.
Yeah.
And not play improv, but just to be playful with each other. And I think that adds such fuel to the fire in your improv scene when you see people just being joyful, instead of it just being like a day job. And there are, I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, and at this point in time, like, there are shows where I get up and, I'm about 3/4 of the way through and I go, yeah, it's a day job today. And I'm just, I'm kind of poking and prodding and looking for that playfulness and that fun, and it just kind of isn't around, and that's fine. Like anyone who's done a corporate event, done corporate knows that there are days that it's a day job, and you are showing up and you're clocking in and you're just making an improv scene happen, and you're asking them, well, what's something that one of your coworkers is known for? Tuna in the microwave. All right. Okay. Let's do an improv scene about tuna in the microwave. With Mike. Mike always putting tuna in the microwave. All right. Here we are. And they all laugh, and you're phoning it in. Yeah.
But at that point, you're not doing it for an audience. You're doing it for a paycheck. I mean, there is no illusion of that.
Yeah. But when shows are on fire, it's just what you're talking about with Brothers Falstaff, is when we're all of a sudden we're not pointing out at the audience, which I never want to disregard the audience. There's a reason we ask them for a suggestion.
Yep.
But once we've asked that from the audience, we then come back in and we say, all right, we're going to play together.
Yeah.
And come join us for this playfulness. But it really is like my scene partner is my direct conduit to improv. And so I got to rely on them. I'm looking at them, and I want to poke and prod at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when you talk about, going back to my comment about professional improvisers from Seattle, I think, and you talk about you're still better off, you're still in a better off position than you were when you started. As someone who's been doing this far fewer years than both of you, I think the gap I still have to close is when you're doing Brothers Falstaff, I can see when you're screwing with each other on stage, and it's fun and it's joyous, but I trust that you can do that, because I know at any point any of the three of you can pick it up and you can get back on track with telling the story, what's the arc, what's going on. And I think for myself and some of the people I work with on the regular, I think that gap for us to close is we still feel like half of our brain is occupied, is the story still going in the right direction? Is this still is this a full arc? I get scared of being too jokey for fear that we'll derail the play, derail the story, derail the other people, and that's the goal, I think, at my level, is get to that point where there's just so much trust that yep, I'm just going to spend the next 2 minutes poking. I'm going to poke the bear for 2 minutes, and then I know 2 minutes in, one of us is going to save it, and we'll be right on track, and it's okay.
I think the other thing is, the way I look at the story is, if you ever remember the old slot cars, that you would go to a place and it would have a bunch of different slot car tracks, and they all make a circle, but they do it in a bunch of different ways. But the thing is, that's kind of how life is. If you think about it, if our characters are characters on these slot tracks, and the show is a section of that.
Yeah.
So the beginning has already happened, and we don't know what the end is going to be. Yeah. And the journey is the middle. And that's the thing that Buddhists, when Buddhists talk about life, they talk about it as a circle without an end. And you're right now in a section of that circle. So it's I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I think the moment that you release yourself of that burden is the moment that you're going to be like, oh, okay. And it's that same thing of trust. If you don't know where the story is, or where you are at the story, your partner is going to find it for you. It's like doing a style that you don't know. If you don't know Chekhov, and you're in a show and you're doing a scene in the style of Chekhov, just mirror your partners.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be fine. And that's the same thing.
Because either you'll do a Chekhov or you're making up a new genre, and how fun.
Yep. Oh my God. Okay. So I was in London, and Jonathan Pitts, I had talked to him about going to London, just not about doing shows or anything. We were just talking. And I arrive, and my inbox is full of people asking me to come do shows. And I was like, what the heck happened? And then the last email was Jonathan was like, by the way, I contacted everybody I know in London and said you were a improviser from Los Angeles that needed a show slot. And he did. I mean, I had 6, and one of them was an improv team called Grand Theft Impro. And I could do it that night. We had a free night. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. And so it was on the West End. So I can say I've performed on the West End. Of course, all improv in London is performed in pubs. So I performed in a pub on the West End.
Yeah.
And they are a who's who of people in London. But I get there, and the reason that I did all these schools was I wanted to be able to jump up on stage and have somebody lean over and go, we're doing this, this, and this. And I could say, yeah, I know how to do that.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I did I.O. and I did Annoyance and I did Comedy Sports. And so I could have that moment. And that happened.
Yeah.
Like, I got up and they're like, we do a theater sports game show, and it's just all short form. Okay, great. But in the middle of that, there is 2 people, they start a scene, and the suggestion was the underground. So it starts off with this guy hijacking the train conductor. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I'll add some atmosphere, you know. Welcome to Chatton Station, please mind the gap. And, you know, that was fine. That just added some atmosphere. I get to the next one, and I'm like, welcome to Piccadilly Circus, please mind the gap. Well, those run parallel to each other.
Yeah.
So the audience starts losing it. And though I'm just like, I'm going to still play this game.
Yeah.
So I kept randomly doing all of these stations, and the people on stage are just like, we're ramming through the walls. You know, they're making it all work. And then, you know, and they're having a blast on stage. They end up becoming friends because they're going through this thing where they're breaking through all these stations. And then finally I go, welcome to Newark, New Jersey. Watch out for that space, and you get off, you trip on that thing, you know? And then that was the end of the scene. But it was that we didn't know, we didn't care. It just happened, and we let that happen. You know, it was that magic moment, and the audience loved it. They just loved the fact that we played the game and we had fun with each other. And that's the magic of it. You know, if you just let go and not worry about the beginning, middle, and the end, you just worry about you and your scene partner and what your relationship is. That's where the magic happens.
Yeah. I did want to ask, when you're on stage, what do you think the improviser's mind is? Like, what are the things that you're bringing on stage? What are the things that like when you get a suggestion, what's sort of that, like the first posture that you take?
The first thing I think about is, what do I know about the suggestion? So if the suggestion is Abraham Lincoln, I mean, I know he's been shot. I know he was a lawyer in Illinois. I know that he built a log cabin. I know all the Civil War stuff. But then if I run out of things, I'm like, I think Abraham Lincoln was a practicing Buddhist. You know, what is the quote? Know what you don't know. So that's the first thing, is what do I know about the suggestion? But then the rest of it is just checking in with my scene partner and figuring out, and it's that Rosowski thing of, how does this distance affect me? What does it feel like? What does it make my relationship with them feel like? And how are they moving? You know, so if somebody starts a movement, I'll sometimes mirror that same movement, even if I don't know what we're doing. And that kind of creates the relationship for me. That's the first part of the relationship. And then if we're just doing a scene, I'm just listening for the last thing they said, and I'm responding with my heart. It's fine to say yes and, you know, I'm having a headache. Yes, and I have some ibuprofen. But if it's, I have a headache, and you're just like, oh, you have a headache, I'm sorry. Is it because of something that's happened today? Is it because stress, or do you just sometimes have headaches? I just sometimes have headaches. All right, well, let's go do something that'll take your mind off of that, you know? And that's the real scene right there, instead of the yes and stuff. So that's my next step of it. And then the rest of it is really just making my scene partner look good. What is their deal, and how can I make it better or worse? So those are the things that I'm actually thinking about. But Mick Napier, when I studied with him, he had a great thing that I still use to this day. He goes, "You are going to pre-plan your scenes off stage, and that's fine. Your brain is doing that. You can't stop it. But the moment you take that step on stage, let it go. Just be blank. Be a blank page. Listen to the suggestion, figure out your deal, and support your partner."
That's so interesting. I used to teach the unstructured sort of Seattle Herald, and I would take a week. Sometimes I would take 2 classes to talk just about the opener. How do we do the opener? How do we do the what we call the radar walk, where we're mining the word for as many different connections and suggestions.
Organic opening kind of thing.
It's a very organic opening, And afterwards, I'd have them do their first static walk, and I would just say, "Great, we're going to play. You're going to wander around, make eye contact, and play word ball, but the word ball is only with that first word that you got."
Yeah.
And so that was sort of it. And then we would get done with that. I'd put like 2 minutes on the clock, maybe 90 seconds or something, and then I'd be like, "All right, we're done." And I'd say, "All right, I want you to tell me what are 2 things that someone else gave you." And I'd ask each person, "What's 2 things?" No, not things you said. 2 things someone else gave you.
You heard,
Yeah, because not only does it help you connect with your scene partner, but also you already have the things you said in you.
Yeah.
You said them for a reason. So figure out and focus on what the other person says and hold on to that, because when all of a sudden you're halfway through this Herald and you're going, "Great, what do we stock the fridge with?" and you're dry, of course you have all the things that you had said. So focus on what your scene partners had said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I look at it as like I'm carrying, when I'm doing a long form, I'm carrying a fishing net on my side.
Yeah.
And whenever something comes up that piques my interest, I put it in that fishing net. And if it's a line, it can be anywhere in the long form. If it's just a line that I like, it's like, "Oh, that was a juicy line."
Yeah.
I'll bring it back in another scene that's totally unrelated. And the audience maybe they don't catch on to that, but they feel that something is familiar from that. And so, when you're doing an opening, you're just grabbing the things that make sense to you and you're socking them for later. And it's smart to say, if you only get 2 things, because if you've ever seen a 14-person Herald on a Tuesday night at 10 o'clock, they can get really messed up.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, so everything that, before I moved to Seattle, the Herald was the structured Herald, and the montage with an opening was what you call a unstructured Herald. But anytime you had a Herald night, they only gave them like 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
There's no way when you have 14 people to get the opening scene, scene A, B, C, the game scene, scene A, B, C, game scene A, B, C. I never saw a Herald that got past opening scene 1, 2, 3, game scene, lights out.
Yeah.
Because it took 20 minutes to get to that point.
Yeah.
But you just have to grab all the things you can and hold them in your sack. That doesn't sound right. It's hold them in what's on the side, and grab them out so that you can play with them yourself later.
Yeah.
The metaphor was fishing net.
Yes,
Yeah.
not scrotum.
Yeah.
I
I hold all of my suggestions in my scrotum.
Yes,
That's a good place.
That I act from my scrotum.
Yeah.
That's a Udahagen thing.
It's nice because I get out on stage and it's typically cold, so then the offers are just
they're
drawn up.
tight.
Near
Yeah.
and dear. That's why.
left.
Yeah, my improv is balls to the walls. Yeah.
So one of the things that I've always had a problem with is teachers teaching the game of the scene. And it wasn't until I saw my kids playing that I figured out how the game of the scene really works, because my 4-year-old and my 6-year-old at that time, my 4-year-old wanted to play with her big sister, and her big sister wanted nothing to do with it. And so she came to me and asked me to make her big sister play with her. And I said, that's not how play works. What you want to do is you want to, what does your big sister like to play with that you like to do? She goes, Barbie dolls. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Go over and play with Barbie dolls and be real loud about it and have fun. She goes, and then Amelie will want to play with Barbie dolls? I'm like, yeah. Because if you're having fun, she's going to see it and she'll come over and have fun. And sure enough, it didn't even take like 7 minutes before Amelie was over there playing with her. And that's the game of the scene. It's you figure out something that you like in a scene that you want to play with. And if everybody else sees you having fun and they adopt that same type of play, that becomes the game of the scene. But if they don't, you're still having fun in your scene.
Yeah.
And that's how the game of the scene works. And my kids were the ones who clarified that for me.
Yeah.
And it's those little things that I love about, improv and just learning.
That's so interesting because game of the scene has always felt so prescriptive and felt so ham-fisted. And when you're learning game, it's like you look for the game that your scene partner's doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, and be making game moves. And I'm just like, that feels so dull to me.
Every bad game scene starts off with, all right, everybody, come on in, we got the meeting, is the first failure of a game scene.
Yeah.
And every time it happens, I'm just like, oh, fuck. But I go out there. I mean, I go out there and I support and I put my heart into it. But at the same time, it's manufactured.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's so manufactured in that and being able to instead say, no, I'm just doing something, and if you want to join on into it, you get to.
And then it becomes the game.
Yeah. And then also, like, I think on the other side of that, seeing, oh, hey, that looks fun. I want to jump on into that, and I want to join them.
Yeah.
And, like, instead of, because I think so often as a young improviser, we can get mistaken with this idea that, like game, I need to bring something, and it's like no, we don't always need to bring something, but also like how do we prevent that?
Yeah,
I mean, I think it was Domika when we were talking with her, and she said listening is an active thing.
Yep.
Yes.
Right. Discovery is an active thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like you don't have to bring a game, just do something that you're enjoying.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like, oh, this is a game move.
Yeah.
I hope everyone sees this game that I'm playing.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing that you spoke about listening and discovery, that thing of that, I'm going to do what everybody's doing. Well, we've taken apart discovery. Discovery has disappeared because now we're doing what the person who initiated the game. It's almost like a teaching scene with a group. And forgive me if you just did one of those on Tuesday, but they always fall flat.
Yeah.
I've never seen one that really...
The difference, I think, and the audience can see this, is the difference between discovering something, which is joyful, like, oh, this is happening, this is fun, I want to be part of it, and figuring something out. Because when someone says, they're like, all right, everyone, get in here, it's a game, or someone's doing something very obvious, and you're like, I know this is some kind of game, and now I need to figure out what game we're playing.
Yeah.
And it's painful for the improviser, and it's painful for the audience to watch. And the reason it's painful for the audience to watch is because the audience is now just like, please get it. Please just get it. We want to see you win. We want to see you get it. But when you're struggling, like, that's not fun. It's not fun for anyone in the theater.
I think so one of my biggest things that I learned from watching Second City people and IO West or IO people play, the gods of improv, I realized that they knew when they weren't needed on stage. And that became one of my goals to learn back in the day was, how do you figure out when you're not needed?
Yeah.
And that's a huge power move. Even if somebody that you did a scene with earlier was your wife or your sister or your coworker, they go back out and initiate that character. That doesn't mean that you go out there.
Yeah.
Like, what are they doing? Maybe we're seeing them move past you.
Yeah.
So you got to listen. You got to take that moment and say, okay, what are they doing? Do they really need me out there?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what could be happening and what you don't want is the scene picking up where the last scene left off.
Yeah.
We always want, for me, and it's back to that slot car thing. We're watching Paul and Chaz have a scene. Well, my scene with me and Ron is still traveling through time.
Right.
So that when we come back, we have changed. Something has happened. We don't pick up right where we left off. And that's the thing that you learn from Foursquare.
Yeah.
When I teach Foursquare, I'm like, you have to realize that when you're not on scene, when you're not the two players that up front, your scene is still happening. And when you come back to that scene, something has changed.
Why is that important?
Because if we're just linear, then we can't change. You don't want to be the same person at the beginning of your scene or game that you are at the end.
Yeah.
Why? Mike Myers says, "Why is this day different?" So and that's to me very important. Like that's another thing that I do is my scene partner says something, even if it's a compliment, sometimes I'll take it the wrong way and let it change me.
Yeah.
I always use the example of when your scene partner says, "I want a divorce," instead of going, "Oh, but we love each other, blah, blah, blah." What if you just went, "Hell yeah! Oh my God!
Yeah.
You said it! Can we hug? Can we hug right now? Because this is great.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be married with you anymore." And that's a change. That person changed, and that's I know you guys wouldn't know anything about divorce, but, it's a changing thing,
Is it? Is it, Ellen? Tell me more.
Yeah. But it really is one of those things that you don't want to be the same person at the end of your scene or the end of your set that you started off.
Yeah.
I want to double down though,
Yeah.
because I agree with you, but I want to figure out why, what it is that I agree with you about, and it's this idea of why should we change off stage when we can show our audience the change on stage? And the example being, like in Foursquare, you said, when you rotate, your scene's still happening so you can change. And I sort of pressed it. I said, why? And he said, well, you can change, so your character can change. But you have the opportunity to show that to your audience. What is the value in having that be an off stage thing?
Excellent. Let me ask you this. When you watch Foursquare and you see the two people pick up right where they left off, do they ever bring anything new to the scene? Or do they just continue the same scene? Like that break is your opportunity to, okay, so let's say the suggestion is that we're building a time machine in our backyard. So we see the first scene and the two players are telling each other, hopefully for not long, how to build a time machine. And somebody finally says, "Bill, thanks for spending this time with me. It really means a lot." And we get to the real scene. They come back and we get to see them down the road a little bit.
Yeah.
The time machine's done, and now they're visiting the dinosaurs. But that's not really the scene anymore. It's like, wow, I really feel like I've bonded with you. Like I feel like we're going on this journey.
Yeah.
And then we come back to them again and they're back home and they're like, "Man, we both got Tyrannosaurus Rex skulls. That's awesome.
Yeah.
This has been the best day ever." So that's their journey. But if we just went linear, it would still be building the time machine, building the time machine, building the time machine, when what we really want to see is them going in the time machine and doing something and then coming back.
Yeah.
Picking up right where you left off is the magic trick of, I remember exactly what was happening when all this other stuff happened. Picking up at some point in the future when things have changed is the magic trick that people want to see, which is changing each time, which is the story's moving forward, the relationship is evolving, something new is here.
Yeah.
And the picking up right where you left off, like it's just pulling a rabbit out of a hat. And the audience doesn't want to see that every single fucking time.
Yeah. And the thing is, with if you're a good Foursquare bell ringer, towards the end of the game, you're going to start picking that up.
Yeah, snowballing.
Yeah, so when you get to the end of it, we want to see them, fighting off the Tyrannosaurus, and then they come back again and they're sawing off the Tyrannosaurus's head.
Yeah,
those gaps, even if they're just like 10 minutes, they mean something, and they change who we are. And it's the same thing with every time you watch a show like Star Trek or any type of relationship based show. They change, especially Star Trek. God bless Star Trek, because they were always making social commentary.
Yeah.
So they became different at the end of their show, because they got to see the two people, one with a right side that was black and a left side that was white, hating the guy who had the left side that was black and the right side that was white. And everybody kind of realized that racism doesn't work at the end. So that's the change we're looking for, is, how did we become better people?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, yeah. Going back to your example of like a teaching scene.
Yeah.
And like, it can start out as a teaching scene. Hopefully it changes from that. I have so many different thoughts.
I piqued your interest.
You did pique my interest. Piqued but not quite summited. I want to know how do you get yourself out of a teaching scene? And I should be clear. I very much don't believe that a teaching scene is a bad thing. I just think it leads to bad improv.
Yes, it does. And the way you get out of any situation like that is you start talking about how you feel about your scene partner.
Yeah.
I mean, that is you make statements about what is going on right now. How do you feel about it? And how do you feel about your scene partner? And you be really loud about it until your scene partner stops teaching you and goes, "Oh, I didn't know you like strawberry shortcake. Man, I love strawberry shortcake."
Yeah.
And that's the way we get out of it, because it's the relationship that drives the scene. It's the R in Crow. Everybody likes Crow out here. Well, that R is a capital R. Like it's huge, because character is great. We need character, because character provides point of view. Okay. And I'm not saying wacky character like Groundlings or anything like that. It's who you are. Just belched into the microphone. Who you are, because I'm a guru. For Christ's sakes, Hawkins. Who you are provides point of view. How you feel about your scene partner is the relationship, is the engine, and then you can figure out, the where and the objective and stuff. Those are at the end of Crow for a reason.
I don't know. They might never change that tire.
Oh my God. Yeah, and if you're having a tire changing scene, it's going to be instruction. But it really only takes about 5-10 minutes to change a tire.
Yeah.
So the rest of your scene is got to be how you feel about the situation and how you feel about your scene partner. And you can either choose to go negative. I hate you. You took me on this trip. I hate that we're stuck on this and that we've now had a flat. This is the worst vacation ever. Or you can say, "Oh my God, you were so brilliant when you changed that tire. I'm hot right now." Like just seeing you handle those lug nuts was just exciting.
Yeah.
And then it's personal.
Yeah.
It's not teaching anymore. So you get out of it by talking about your scene partner and talking about your feelings.
Yeah.
Which is hard for some people.
It's hard to see the subtext in it. It's hard to see past the thing that you're doing. And I think when you're new to improv, it's a maelstrom. You're in the middle, you're in the eye of a tornado, and you don't realize you're in the eye. You just see the tornado wall, and you're going, "Oh my God, it's crazy out there." And after that level, that maturity and that time, you start to realize, like, "Oh yeah, there's things all around me, but I'm in the eye of the tornado."
Yeah.
It's actually pretty calm right in this one moment. And then you start to go, "Oh yeah, right. Tire changing. It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for my dad being proud of me.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect. Metaphor is wonderful.
Yeah, right. It's like anytime you're teaching me how to do something, you're teaching me how to build something, great. We're actually building a relationship.
Bonding. Yeah.
And so it's always, we're doing something, but what is it about us?
Yeah.
We're building a relationship, or I can say, yeah, you're really trying to get out of here, aren't you? Because you want to leave me. You want to leave this, right? And I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you how to fix your car so you can get on out of here.
Yeah.
Because I know how important that is for you. But I just want you to know that I'm having a real nice time right now building this car with you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to teach you how to make that to put the tires back on. And once we get that going, then you can get on out of here.
Yeah.
Just remember to call every once in a while.
Fist to the chin.
Yeah.
Call back. So the thing that you mentioned about young improvisers is the journey of a young improviser is, first, you're scared. You start classes and you're worried that you're not going to be able to do it. And so you start doing things out of fear.
Yeah.
And teaching comes out of fear. And then the next phase is you start mimicking the people that you admire.
Yeah. Does teaching come out of fear because we want control?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you know that. Yeah. It's control. Having control of the scene means that I don't have to be afraid. Whereas that ends up being the thing that makes the scene great. That is the first roadblock. But then you start trying to do things that you see. That's the next improviser's journey phase, is you start emulating the people that you admire, which is good. But then at the end of that, you start realizing that those things work for those people because that's who they are.
Yeah.
But that's not who you are. So, then you get into like suddenly being the middle of becoming an improviser. You start becoming yourself. And you actually start building that mosaic of things that work for you. And then the last part of it is when you just are present on stage and you don't worry anymore. And that's the beginning of the end of becoming an improviser. And then from there on, it's just a continuing learning thing. We're continuously learning. I can't tell you this, how often I'll learn something from improv, from watching somebody else play, and it's like, oh, that was really smart.
Yeah.
They did that, and we just never, and if we ever stop learning, that's the end of your journey. If you ever just go, I don't have to take classes anymore. I don't take workshops. I don't warm up. I know everything. Well, you're done.
Yeah.
You're no fun anymore.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, that's the journey that starts off with being afraid.
It's interesting. It starts at fear and it ends at curiosity.
Yeah, it should. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Curiosity is wonderful. That's how we learn. And that's, once again, the gift of viola is, when you're playing a game, if you're really playing, you're not thinking about the rules. You're not thinking about controlling the scene. Like when we were kids and your neighbor came over and he's wearing an Iron Man mask and he's got a Nerf gun and he's got his mom's red beach towel wrapped around his neck. You don't do the adult thing of like, what genre are we doing here? You have what are you doing? No, you grab your Spider-Man mask and your cowboy hat and your Nerf gun and you go play Iron Man and Cowboy Spider-Man. Yeah. The kids don't stop and ask rules. They just play. And that's where improv really happens, is when you just learn to let go and just play, it becomes magic. And that's that curiosity thing.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a few times like your family and such, and how has being an improviser with a family, how has that changed for you? How has that matured your improv? What are the things that you have to like navigate and negotiate, and what does that like look like for you these days? And I mentioned how Rosowski changed me as a parent and a husband, and it comes from listening. And it's not just listening with your ears, it's listening with your heart. What's really being said?
What is the true context? If my wife is irritated and she's doing things, she's chopping onions, and there's just, you hear that clack of the knife against the cutting board a little harder, and it's like, okay, I fucked up. I wonder what it is. Or, you don't know. So there's something that's going on, and that requires your whole focus.
Yeah.
And so that's that listening with more than just your ears. Or, like I said, a good improviser knows when they're not needed. When I see my daughter doing art, both my daughters are just obsessed with making things. They just do art all the time. And I do art. I love to do it. And I see them figuring something out. And the first impulse is, oh, I can show them. Oh my God, I have so many things I could teach them right now. But I'm not needed right now. They're exploring and learning on their own. They don't need me putting my big nose in their business. They need me to stay back and let them explore. And that's that same thing that I do on stage. Do they really need me out there right now? And if they don't, I'm okay with staying back. And it's things like that. Or when somebody has a victory, sometimes somebody will start relating their own victories to it and stuff like that. When what really needs to be is we need to focus on that game, that moment. That's the game of the scene, is that person's victory, not your victory. Just you like celebrating that moment. Oops, sorry. Because those who can't see, I'm using my hands like crazy right now. My wrist will be tired by the end of this podcast.
Actively gesticulating.
But those are the things that have helped me from improv to be a better parent and to be a better husband and better partner is listening and not imposing myself where I'm not needed. So
it's so funny how, I mean, you hear it from improvisers all over. What did improv teach me? It taught me how to listen. What did improv teach me? It taught me how to listen. How do you be a better improviser? You just listen. And I think people who haven't taken an improv class don't understand really what it means to truly listen and the depth of listening that it takes, and how active and how practiced listening needs to be.
Listening is an act of love. No matter where you're doing it, no matter who you're doing it with, if it's your scene partner, if it's your partner in life, listening is an act of love. And responding with your heart is how you amplify that.
Was it Alan Alda who said that? He said acting is the willingness to be changed.
Yes.
And I think it was Dave Morris who said it's listening is the willingness to be changed. And he sort of adapted it for the improviser.
And and Alan Alda was a compass player. So, and my family all come from Illinois. We were the first white settlers of the Kankakee Valley in the early 1800s, and my dad grew up there, and his favorite thing to do was to go to the Compass Players and watch their shows. And then it became Second City, and he used to go all the time. And when I got accepted in Second City, I took that letter to him, and I didn't say anything. I just handed it to him, and he looked at it, and he just goes, "This is huge. This is so huge." I think it's one of the few times where it's like, "Daddy, are you proud of me?" But he was, and that's the magic of the relationship, and I got to tap into that part of him and he saw his journey continue in me, and that created a change. So you've traveled all around, done improv everywhere, and well, so have you.
But we're interviewing you.
Oh yes.
And since the draw and the desire for creating this podcast between Paul and I is to really just sort of like talk about and isolate, like, what are the things about the Pacific Northwest and its improv scene what are the things that you find are hallmarks or are values that are important, or the differences between the PNW and other improv scenes?
That's a great question, and
Thanks. That's why I asked it.
When I first moved here, I went to Jet City and I went to Unexpected Productions, Comedy Sports, but I found my home at a little theater called The Pocket.
Yeah.
And The Pocket, I think, was the heart of Seattle Improv. Not because they were creating a new style, not because they were their own company. They weren't. They're an actors collective.
Yeah.
But the thing is that they were a pressure pot of creativity.
Yeah.
And I used to go see shows there, or I used to play in shows, and it was like the jam at Second City. You would just see so many people mixing and matching and trying new forms. And that's when I kind of realized that Seattle is a lot like Austin's community, which is a really, Austin, if you've ever been there, they have a great improv community that's very creative, and they take chances and they create new things constantly. And I really relate Austin and Seattle as being on that same level. There's a lot of improvisers here that are brave and they want to do new things. They don't want to stick with the status quo. They want to continue to grow. And it's almost a daring that is actually the polar opposite of what Seattle itself is. Because Seattle is worse than LA. Like in LA, if you're in line with Starbucks and you mention somebody's shirt being really cool, they're going to look at you and go, thanks, and they're done. If you do that in Seattle, they're going to look at you and then look forward and say nothing, like it didn't exist.
We call that the Seattle freeze, I think.
Somebody sent me, before I moved here, somebody sent me a little comic strip, and it's these two guys standing next to each other drinking coffee, and one goes, Greg, you're my best friend. You've known me for 10 years. And can you explain the Seattle freeze for me? And the guy that's Greg goes, who says we're friends? But the improv community is the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that I love about theater. I grew up in a house where there wasn't physical affection. People didn't say, I love you.
Yeah.
And then I got into theater and people were hugging all the time and saying, I love you to each other, just out of a pure joy of being. And I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah. And that's what this community has. They love each other. If I could change one thing, it would be to steal from Los Angeles and Chicago that willingness to be okay with cross-pollination.
Yeah.
There's sometimes this thing of like, somebody can't go teach over at Jet City because they teach over here, and we don't want somebody performing in this show because they're part of Jet City show, and it's that and if we could get rid of that, I think creativity would blossom. Because in Chicago, it's okay if you are a teacher at IO, Comedy Sports, and Annoyance, and then you perform at the Conservatory, the Playground, and Comedy Sports. Nobody bats an eye about it. But here, some people get a little insulted when you try to go somewhere else. Yeah. And if we as a community could say, no, that's okay. That lifts all the ships.
Yes.
Yeah. That's something that I would like to see. But I think it's a beautiful community here, and I've been here 11 years now, and I've made such good friends, and I've seen some of the most beautiful improv in this city, and I just admire everybody here. I just think that it's constantly changing, especially after the pandemic. The pandemic, some of my students are just like, one of them's like, yeah, I was a housewife, and I just stayed home with the kids, and then when they started going to middle school, I decided to take improv classes, and it's changed my life. And those type of things that I think the pandemic kept us encapsulated And then when it was done, we all took improv classes.
Yeah.
You know?
It's been such a boom.
Yeah.
I mean, I think every company, at least in Seattle, has seen market growth, and we've seen new improv companies grow, or new improv classes and groups grow because there's such a desire to just get out and connect with another person.
Yeah, improv is a healing art. I truly believe that, because it gives us, when you're on stage and you're having fun with your friends, you're getting endorphins. You're getting that serotonin.
Yeah.
And you immediately, that's why so many people who go through breakups or divorces find improv, and it's like suddenly, oh my God, I can let go of all of this darkness and just have fun with my new friends. And then they end up doing improv for the next 20 years. You know? So I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think Seattle has that. I think there's a beautiful community here.
Yeah, it's a pretty lucky thing that we have here.
Yeah,
I got my haircut today from Obadiah.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah,
and that was one of the things we were talking about, was just the community and how lovely it is.
I love people with hair. I think your culture is so rich and varied, and I admire you. You know, I just think you're just so amazing.
Awesome, Alan. Thank you so much for being on our episode.
Thank you guys for having me.
Such a pleasure just to hang out and have some drinks and chit chat.
And geek about improv.
Geek about improv, baby.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of Cascade Improv.
What's going to be this week, Chaz?
Paul, if you want to be on the podcast, if you're a leader, if you're a teacher, if you are a director, if you're an improviser, from Alaska down to Oregon, and everywhere in between. But if you're in Montana, you're too far out. You're the mountain region. Get out of here. I don't want anything to do with you. I will be in Billings in a couple months to do some improv. So I hope you all reach out and tell me that you're offended. But if you want to be on the podcast, reach on out to Cascade Improv Podcast at gmail.com. And if you want to bring Paul and or I out to teach a workshop, we would love to. Paul has a workshop on how do you, he's talking about the Harriet, which is feminism in the Herald. And how you find the female voice.
And I am an expert at finding the female voice.
That's right. Yeah. So
not a myth, the female voice. And I've found it many times.
That's fun. Yeah. And if you're also, Paul will be fielding any complaints about the podcast. So thanks for tuning on in, and we'll check back in with you in 2 weeks. We'll see you guys on stage.
Thanks for listening.
I have to look back now. Ooh, yeah.
The Cascade Improv Podcast is produced by Paul Furio and Chaz Kaskis. Musical backing is provided by Anomi Bell, whose music can be found online at anomibell.bandcamp.com.